Welcome back to a new installment of EV Morning, the latest electric vehicle news. Do I need to say at this stage, you grab yourself a coffee and settle in for the latest? No, I'm serious. We've both got a brew on. Hit pause now and go and get yourself one. We'll wait. All right, they're back. Welcome to the show. My name is Martin Lee, and we love to bring you all the very latest electrical vehicle news on this channel. So, if you like what we do, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you never miss a show. Slightly new format for 2022. It's the both of us doing the news this year. You've seen Blake doing the car reviews on this channel, and together we're going to go through the news each week in the latest in electric vehicles. So, Blake, you got the running order there. Kick us off. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's start off with Ford and global chip shortages and really pinching now. Ford are halting production in some of their sites and reducing the level, the amount of hours, overtime, stuff like that. Have you seen this story, Martin? And I didn't realize how bad this actually was out there for some manufacturers.
Yeah, and just a reminder as well that these aren't the high-end chips that are going to be powering that big, gorgeous display in the Mustang Mach-E. They're the dollar chip that makes the seat move backwards and forwards, or the 50 cents chip that makes the USB charger work or something. So it must be enormously frustrating to have vehicles slowed down on the production line or even have to not deliver those vehicles. We've seen a company like Tesla, of course, a startup with no heritage to both fall back on, which can be a good thing, but no reputation, as it were, built up over hundreds of years, just deliver cars with no USB chargers recently, or they couldn't get the chip for the lumbar support. So, hey, it doesn't come with it anymore. And that's a really interesting comparison between startups and the established car makers as well. Now, the CEO, Jim Farley at Ford, has been saying that he expects the chip shortage to ease a little bit this year. And what's interesting about the car industry is how much it's forced them to go right back to the suppliers. Now, often they were buying these chips in and they were arriving on time. They had great relationships with their suppliers, but it's forced all of them to go just a little step back to exactly where the manufacture of these chips are done. And in some cases, especially with EV batteries as well, it's a whole new thing for them to go right back to the mine and work out what's the state of raw materials and when do we get the stuff we need. So it's forced a whole change in how a lot of these car makers work, as well as electrification. As you know, Blake has thrown everything up in the air. So it must be pretty spicy working at places, right now.
Definitely is. And I was out there a couple of weeks ago for a walk, Sunday walk with my family. We met up with a couple of friends, and one of those guys, I won't tell his name or the company he works for, but it's one of the major chip manufacturers. And he was just telling me, we all just missed the boat. Basically, we didn't predict accurately enough the rise in global demand. And it's not like we can flick a switch and get hire a few people, a few temps to come in and make it. We have to invest $2 billion in a new plant to get this thing up and running, and that takes a year or two to build. So it's just saying, there's light on the horizon, but it's not a flick, a switch that you just flick, and it's going to take these companies, really, we're talking about years here just to properly gather pace, because the demand isn't going to stop.
Absolutely. But also talking about Ford as well, Ford's CEO Jim Farley, who I mentioned, also saying recently to analysts on an earnings call that they were completely going to change the way they make cars, not just because of electrification, but it is part of this new way of making vehicles. Did you see this story?
I did, and I was delighted to hear it. Because it makes so much more sense to me. If you're improving a product, why just sit on that IP that you've built up, or the extra tech? If you can roll it out. Is it the Tesla way of doing it? A lot of people, it's a little bit cynical, say, they're just copying Tesla. But look, that's a really good thing. Let's if you've got a better chip, if you've got a more comfortable seat to put in, if you've got a heat pump that's 5% more efficient than the last one, let's get it in the latest cars. So I think it's great.
And I wonder how it affects people's purchasing decisions. So Ford moving away from that kind of model year way of working. So again, Ford don't have that direct relationship like Tesla do. So they have dealerships who buy the cars off Ford. Then it's the dealers who are independent companies then sitting with stock. And when Ford come out with a new model year of the Mustang Mach-E, as they would have done before, those dealers have old stock, so maybe customers could get a bit of a discount and the dealers make a little bit less money on that car because it's the old one. Equally, people might defer purchase decisions to get the new model year. But the Tesla way of doing it, which is, hey, we've just made an improvement, we've got some new software. So software updates, of course, a big thing, but also hardware. As you say, we've got this new thing that we can put on the car. Ford are going to start copying that and just iterate and make the cars better. I wonder how it changes, and would it change your decision to purchase if you knew that there wasn't this big model year coming? Now, see, I think Tesla fans start to pay more attention to the company and podcasts and channels like this, and because they want to know. So here in the I'm in England, for instance, and I know that I'm 20 minutes away from Southampton, where boats are coming in from China. And so actually, if I bought a Tesla, it's made in China. Now, has that got the new NVIDIA chip? Has it got the LFP batteries? How do you think making that change at Ford might affect buying decisions, and would it affect you?
Yeah, well, I think it definitely will. I know in the past I've said, well, I'm not going to get that. There's a car that I'm thinking about replacing my own Leaf with, and I'm not going to buy the current model because I know there's a refresh coming. Now, will I go and buy that when the time comes? I don't know. Things might change in the year or so that it'll take to come out. But I'm not going to buy that now because I know in 12 months' time there's a better looking one with a bigger battery, faster coming out. So it's a really good point. And then just to polish that one off from my own point of view, it shows, which we're probably underestimating, is the psychological and the cultural difficulty of changing around how Ford approach this. And just to get a company that's so used to doing iterations to switch to this constant evolution, that takes a huge amount of work in the background to do. So fair play to them for doing that.
If you have any thoughts on what Blake and I are talking about in any of the stories today, make sure you leave a comment below and tell us what you think. Let's keep the conversation going. We're both in the comment section all of the time, so we'd love to read your thoughts and what you have to say, and we'll reply as well. But let's move on with the news right now. What do you think we should talk about next?
Yeah, well, look, it's a news show. We have to get something about Tesla in there, don't we? That's the rule. It's the unwritten law. It's in the small print. They've updated the supercharger map, Martin. Did you see that?
Yeah. So just updating where people can find their superchargers. Still a huge investment in that network. And as I will say all the time on my own podcast, when I talk to people, if you want that ease of charging, whilst third-party networks, and I hate calling them that, it's almost derogatory, but whilst other networks are getting better, plug and charge is arriving and charge speeds are quicker. Like, you can get quicker charging than Tesla. But if you want the smoothest experience, it's probably the supercharging network. If you just want to turn up somewhere, be pretty sure you can get a charger, be pretty sure that you can just plug it in and walk away. The rest of us are plugging in and then waiting for the lights to flash or looking at the app and is it going to start? Is it handshake done? Yeah, okay, it's good. Right, I can go get a coffee now. So if you want the experience, it's great. And Tesla continue to invest in that. I still think one of the best things about that company, the cars are pretty special as well, but it's just so good. Now, I don't mind that whole experience of having apps and cards and things. So it's okay. But fantastic news that they are expanding year-on-year growth of 35%. And it's particularly in China, a huge amount of investment going in where they call them charging piles. So lots more piles over there. A rather unfortunate name, but that is what that is the word that they use in China for any kind of EV charging station. What do you reckon? What's the where you are in Ireland? What's the infrastructure like?
It's not great. It deserves criticism. It's not as comprehensive as it should be. We need more stations. We need less of the one-off DC chargers and start getting banks and rows of them in. Now I find it absolutely fine. I can get around the country in an old Nissan Leaf. That's no problem to me. But I'm an EV nerd. This is my job to a large extent. So I'm so comfortable looking up the apps. I know where to look and whether they're going to be fixed or not. But just, my dad who got a Model 3 there about 2 years ago, he still gives out about it. It's like I turned up and the thing was broken. I was like, yeah, but you didn't check the app. What app? What do you? No, don't tell me about this. I want to go somewhere and plug in. So we're not there yet either. But when I had the Model 3 there about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we put out a review on this channel a week ago. If you guys want to go and check that, the long range one, 70 kilowatt hour. But I pulled up at a supercharger just to finish off the review. You'll see that in the review, and 8 stalls there. Only 1 was in use when I arrived. I made 2. Someone else came in. That was 3. Still 5 free. And I looked over to my left. two beautiful brand new VW ID4s, both parked up at one station, one waiting for the other to charge. Maximum, well, I think it's 48, 49 kilowatt peak on those chargers. And you just go, this is what really elevates Tesla, you know. But anyway, we're getting distracted by that. That's
Well,
my take on it there.
I must tell you as well, something that is personal to me, but probably to nobody watching this channel. And that one of the reasons we haven't bought a Tesla yet, apart from them being very expensive cars, is where we are in the south coast of England. If the Ranger service can't fix something, it's going to be on the back of a lorry for 2 hours to go across country to Bristol, or 2 hours to London. They have open Winchester, which is a bit closer. Just in the last few days, Tesla have put planning permission into my local council they bought an old Porsche showroom, because Porsche moved into kind of a more of an industrial kind of warehouse. So it's going to look like the Porsche, because the planning permission doesn't call for any changes to the outside apart from taking down the letters and literally replacing in the same height and everything, take down the P, put up a T, etc. Yeah. So that means for me that 10 minutes from my house, they're putting in 6 or 8 new superchargers and a showroom and service center as well here on the south coast. And I don't know when that'll be finished. Haven't had planning permission granted. They're asking for local residents, which is why I saw it, for feedback. And of course, hallelujah. So if we did get one, I'm 10 minutes away. If there were a problem, and I'm sure there wouldn't be. Like I say, it's a very personal take on that, which probably affects nobody else unless you're watching this from near where I live. But we should probably move on in a bit.
Yeah, do you want to do a quick mention just while we finish off Tesla, that the deal that they're doing with Sierra on securing a bit of materials there. There's going to be a plant in Louisiana. Did you see that one?
Yeah, and this is just part of what they've been doing for a long time. So these stories come up from, we see them about Tesla buying raw materials and doing deals for those resources. But, since Nevada was built, trucks and lorries have been turning up containing raw materials. Of course, it's a gigafactory, or Giga One as it used to be called, in Nevada with Panasonic. So Tesla are not new to this, and it's always interesting. I see it reported and they say, hey, there's a new deal to get materials for this, or cathode materials, or they're gonna get this lithium from somewhere. They're really experienced at this, but it generally doesn't get noticed because, well, we're all talking about the cars and the charging and stuff like that, but they are really, really experienced at this. And they know how to take those raw materials and make them into batteries. Of course, Tesla making their own cells, the so-called 4680 cells this year. So yeah, you're right. We don't talk about it a lot with them, but it's a really important part of how vertically integrated they are, and thinking of them less and less like a startup and more like a mature EV company. And I guess they are when you compare them to somebody like Lucid. So we saw a story this week, didn't we, where the Lucid Air is now getting its over-the-air updates. Tell us a little bit more about this, if you would.
Yeah, so Lucid, some people were saying they came to market a little bit too early. They're pushing cars that aren't ready. They don't have a lot of the software packages, and I know there's some controversy with another guy that you work with, people saying that he wasn't given the most accurate information. It's like, no, the car wasn't ready, but they are starting to get over the air updates now. So I don't think the full driver assistance package is available, but there's stuff coming in like, lane departure, and traffic sign recognition, things like that. But that's only the first stage. There will be more updates coming along. So that's good news for Lucid's owners, and I suppose the fact that their car just goes so far on the charge.
Yeah, 500 miles, according to the first real-world test by an independent journalist, a chap called Tom Malogney did this, took it out at 70 miles an hour on the highway, and as you say, 500 miles of range is just at real-world speed. And it was pretty cold as well where he was to do that, which is just, I mean, do we need a 500-mile EV? Probably not, but the minute you start either towing, which not everybody does, or there's some elevation, or you just want that safety blanket of when it's cold, and lithium-ion batteries, that's not an EV thing. They have less miles than an EV. So yeah, I guess if you can get a car with that many miles, then I'll take it. And surely that technology is going to filter down as well. So yeah, to more affordable cars, hopefully anyway.
Yeah, I think that could be a discussion for us to have in a separate video at some stage, Martin. Do we need a 500-mile EV? And all the associated discussions.
I love it. I love it. You know what? For me, I'd be happy with 300 miles, as long as the car charges quick enough. And one of those cars that charges so fast, 230 kilowatts plus, is the Kia EV6. It's really funny how actually, I grew up a child of the 80s where America got everything first. So they got all the games consoles, the best games, and
Mm,
Back to the Future was out there so far before we got it, and we had to wait to go to the cinema or the latest Indiana Jones movie. But it's very rare that we get stuff before them. Whereas we've had the Kia EV6 on the market for a long time now. Seems like almost a year, along with the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and only just to my US friends, my car reviewer friends, etc., now finally getting their hands on the Kia EV6. In fact, one of my friends flew over here to Germany to drive one last year because he was so excited about it, and I kind of understand why, because I think you and I both feel this is a really special EV.
yeah, I do. I was in it there. That was one of the other cars that we had on this channel, but going back maybe 2 months ago, we did a quick point of view drive. We had the car for a few hours, and I was just blown away by it. As I walked up to it the first time, it was in that kind of deep blue, almost purple color. I can't remember the official name for it. And it really just struck me, the design of it. And I just had to detach my mind from that's a cheap Kia with a great warranty to the reality of what I was looking at in front of me, blown away by it. The charging speeds, the range is pretty good. Touch disappointed with the efficiency of it, perhaps, considering the size of the battery and what we know about the e-Niro and the Kona and the likes. But yeah, blown away by it. Not to mention V2L. I could go on here, Martin. Stop me talking. You come in on this one.
I would say that both Kia EV6 and Ioniq 5, its sister cousin car from Hyundai, big vehicles. So a 3-meter wheelbase, a little bit less for the EV6, but just by a smidge. These are big vehicles. And actually at the weekend, we walked past a Kona. We had a Kona for 3 months last year in the driveway, and we loved it, but it was too small in the rear because we've got a 3-year-old with a child seat, and the child seat's still pretty chunky. It's not like a small booster seat, and he didn't have a lot of leg room. And so we changed that, and we ended up with an ID3 next after that. But we walked past one, and I was reminded how small the Kona is. E-Niro a little bit bigger, and actually, I'm not surprised these new ones may be a little bit less efficient because they are much bigger, heavier cars. But I will accept your point. These are on the EGMP platform, custom designed from the ground up, meant to be EVs, whereas the Niros and Konas of the world are compromised cars. They can come with an engine or a plug-in or full electric, and really the established wisdom said they shouldn't be as good as a custom designed car. So yeah, I agree with you on the efficiency, and of course the charging speed is just out of this world. 18 minutes to get to 10 to 80 or 10 to 90, I forget, percent of the battery full, which really forces you to run to the bathroom, get a coffee, and get back in the car. 18 minutes flies by when you've been driving for 2-3 hours and you're stopping.
It's gone, and I look forward to it. I feel like I'm putting a dampener on it now. What you're saying is absolutely right, but look forward to the day when we actually have the chargers and rows of these chargers where you can take advantage of that, And there's another thing that stood out from having the Model Range, the Model 3, the long range, is just preconditioning. So I turned up at a V3 supercharger, plugged it in, straight up to 204 kilowatts, I think I hit, or something like that, And looking across the car park at the typical chargers that we have around, guys are pulling 45, 50 kilowatts or something like that, Whether you have a Lucid or a Rimac or whatever it is, you're only getting 45 kilowatts.
Absolutely. I'm a long way away I'm about an hour and 20 minutes away from the nearest 350 kilowatt charger, which seems crazy. I'm just in a bit of a charging black hole for high power charge. We've got loads of DC fast charging around here, but like you say, the units are all 50, so I could own a Kia or a Hyundai and it'd be entirely wasted unless I do a long journey. But anyway, we need to stop, and we need to hear from you now in the comments below. What do you think about the cars and the stories we've talked about today? We'd love to hear what you think about our opinions, and now tell us yours. Is there something that caught your attention today? Do you agree or disagree with us? Hey, join us on Facebook as well. We're just setting up a group called Best Electric Vehicle. We're going to spend some more time in there. We'll be posting some pictures and having some fun with our opinions as well. We'd love to see you on there. Join us on the Facebook page. And if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. It tells us to make more like it, and we'll see you on the next one.